Welcome to the Speak Pact podcast, where high-performing speakers and the producers who hire them merge to give you the insider secrets to the lucrative speaking industry. Antoniette Rose, your podcast host and celebrated speaker agent, unveils insider success strategies. Discover a nexus of thought leaders and bookers, maximizing your potential in each and every episode. Your ticket to ultimate speaking success begins right here. Catch the transformative insights waiting for you on the Speak Pact podcast, hosted by the industry powerhouse herself, Antoniette Rose.
Welcome back to Speak Pact. We are thrilled that you are here with us today, and we have a heck of a show for you. Today, I have a renowned speaker in the house, Frank Kitchen, and he's going to share all of those gems that he has learned along the way that got him to the sought-after speaker that he is today in something that he is very, very passionate about, and that is mindset excellence. So I think even some of his expertise in that area will help each of us in our speaking journey. So welcome to the stage, Frank.
All right. Thank you for having me here, Antoniette. Can't wait to have our conversation today.
Me too. You're very fascinating. And I love that you took something that you're passionate about and created demand for it. So let's start there. You are, I'll read some of your bio. A lot of this is going to come out, but I just really want to get into the meat of how you took your passion for mindset excellence and just kind of made that into becoming recognized as an expert in that space, where I'm sure you will always and forever have to do some door knocking, but more and more engagements come your way just because you've established that authority in the industry. So tell us a little bit about what made you step into this thing called speaking. I know you're an author, you got a lot of accolades, but take us on the journey with you.
We'll go on the journey. And, that's always the question people ask you. How did you get into professional speaking? Did you want to do this all your life? And for me, I actually was on the event planning side. I love putting on the events. I was the, person on the, behind the scenes. And I used to work at a college, and I used to help book speakers and performers, musicians, comedians. And many times you'd have those conversations backstage, and I would share details on how they could be better on stage. And they used to joke around like, hey, Frank, you should get out there. And I was working at this college, and one day, finally, my students came to me. They go, Frank, you challenge us to live our dreams. What are you doing to live yours? So my students believed in my training and speaking ability so much, they actually reached out to an agency and contacted the agency on my behalf without letting me know, and go, hey, Frank, we contacted an agency to sign you up to be a speaker.
My goodness.
That's how my speaking began. It wasn't me going out looking to be a speaker. It was just a case of I had some people who really believed in me, and they reached out and started up this crazy career that I'm in. So I crossed over to the dark side.
And it worked out pretty darn good.
It's been working out good.
I love that. And kudos to them. You have some good people in your corner. That's amazing. Yeah. So tell me a bit about mindset. How did you think that would be as in demand as it is? Because it's a little bit of a soft skill.
Yeah.
It's not like go make me some money through selling. It's a little bit more of that, harder to define.
It is. Well, that's the tough part for speakers. So, this is going on year 19 of professional speaking for me. And this will be year 10.
You started at 5. Okay.
Yeah, and this will be year 10 of full-time going on. But for many of us, when we first enter the field of speaking, we're trying to be the master of everything. So for me, I came out of a college and I came from a retail background. So the low-hanging fruit was to talk about leadership. But as we stay in our career longer and longer, and we start to really hone down and refine, I started to understand it wasn't so much I was talking to leaders, but I was talking to leaders about their mindset. Anywhere I've worked, I've been in development for over 30 years. So as far as professional development, was all about getting people to believe what they could do before going out there and doing it. And when you called it the soft skill, started to recognize the soft skills, the communication, the belief, the way we connect with other people, that's an important skill. And I've got a friend, his name is Roger Campbell. He's a speaker, good friend of mine. He used to go on stage and say, okay, everybody, he goes, I'm up here teaching soft skills to you. And you're probably wondering, oh man, let's just teach the hard skill. So he goes, okay, I could teach you the hard skill of how to make a computer work. He's like, if the computer doesn't work, he goes, guess what? He's like, you pull out a bat, and he's like, you hit it, whap, whap, whap. And he's like, and if it doesn't work, you throw it out the window. He's like, okay. He's like, that's hard skills. But he goes, soft skills, if you got a problem with a person, and he goes, you pull out a bat, and you go whap, 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 and you throw it out of a window. He goes, you're in jail.
You go to prison.
So he's like, so we have to learn how to connect and communicate. And often on stage, I'll share with people, it's like where your mind goes, your body, and in the case of speakers, your mouth will follow. So that's where I start to understand was everywhere I've worked, I started to reach out to past clients and students and my employees, and they go, yeah, Frank, you helped us believe in ourselves. You set our mind right. And that's the big thing we have to do as speakers is we have to actually really have, if you want to call it investigative research with our audiences to ask them, hey, if you could describe me in one word or one sentence, what would you say I do? And I actually only did that recently, like back during, we're going to the 5-year anniversary of COVID right now, but about 5 years ago, I had some downtime and I started to reach out to past clients and my network to ask, hey, how would you describe me? Because I'm like, am I the leadership expert? Am I the workplace culture expert? Am I team building? And I started to recognize the through line there was mindset and how do we convert what's top of mind into reality?
And that became your unique value proposition, right? There are a lot of leadership corporate trainers and speakers out there. What makes Frank Kitchen different than the others? What are you going to bring to the table that I haven't heard in 50 other, conferences that my organization made me go to? And you really bring that to the table, which is what I would hope that every speaker comes down to. And your little tip, I hope that our listeners caught that. We get too close to our own stuff, right? We're so close that sometimes we can't see what's obvious. And you had the wisdom to ask colleagues, to ask friends around you, what do you see in my delivery or my approach? And in their responses, you found a new level of even who you are.
Right. I mean, literally had to go get a whiteboard, emails, phone calls, and all these words came up and I started to look through the words to see, once again, what that through line was. But many times, as you said, as speakers, we get so deep into our, content, our area of expertise, we forget to focus on who do we serve. And whether it be the way we set up our websites or we market, we're not marketing to other speakers, we're marketing to our clients. And I love it. My wife, she's not a speaker. She's not a trainer. She's not an event person. So I can usually talk to her first to bump ideas off because she's like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. I'm like, oh, wait, you're my target audience. I have to go and reframe or, design things for my audience, not for me or my circle of speakers, because they're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's great. It sounds really good. And then you go present it to a group of, you're trying to get to book you and like, I don't get it. And then you realize, oh, that's why I'm not getting booked.
Oh gosh, so good. Okay. So you said a few things that I want to just hone in on. Number one, especially in those early days, because you were pretty young when you started out, what kind of mindset ninja tricks did you employ in that you were probably training leaders much older than you on how to be a leader? Like, what did you have to do mindset wise to feel like you even had the authority to do that?
Yeah. So when I went to go, I started out in retail. There's a toy store in the mall called KB Toys. And I started out 23 years old as a manager. I mean, so very young. So part of it was when I went in, just the way you dress, because people would see me as, or when I worked at our college at 24, was people saw me as the student, or I looked younger than my students. So I had to purposely make sure that I was wearing a dress shirt and tie every day, just so people were like, okay, wait, college students don't come to school with a dress shirt and tie on to, go and do, or the manager is just a case of, wearing the name tag that said manager. I mean, just some visual cues for people that helped out. But the main confidence piece comes from in the mindset is to focus on past successes. And we have to remember that because we're in a world where we try to look and compare ourselves to other people. And we may not recognize that, okay, Antoniette, she's been in this, industry for 20 years. You're in year one. So I can't be at the same level as you. I tell people it's similar to thinking about our cell phones, our computers. There's always an upgrade. So right now, this is Frank version 19.0, 19 years of speaking. And I guess you can call it year 30, 32.0 as far as being around the industry, which is kind of scary to say that one right now. So people are doing the math as far as age going here, but you recognize that each year you're just working to get a little bit better. We will never be perfect. And every year I learn something a little bit different. And you'll look at it, you're like, oh my God, it's like, how come I didn't see this 5 years ago or 10 years ago? That's just from experience. So we have to be willing to go out, get the experience. We have to understand that we are going to mess up or fail. But the idea is to keep coming back and focus more on what you want than what you don't. So when I was younger, as you asked, my main focus was, what do I want? What do I want to produce? What am I hungry for? Let me just go for that versus thinking about, do they think I'm too young? Do they think that I don't have the knowledge? Because when you start to do that, that starts to show up in your body language, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak. So if you're focused more on what you want versus what you don't want, like I said, your body will follow those cues. It'll go down to your subconscious, and then it'll show up into your conscious and physical self.
Okay, so good. So one of the things that I pulled from that is don't compare your 2.0 version to somebody's 3.0 version. Really focus on your past successes.
Mm-hmm.
And you also said something we've all heard, especially if we've gone to college, dress for success. And there's something really to that. I think that there's this whole mindset that I'm going to be cool and I'm going to be different for the sake of being different. Be you, but also respect the audience enough to know that they are taking from those visual cues that you mentioned. There are visual cues, even with you wearing your label. Now, obviously on the stage, that's not going to maybe be it. But if you go up there looking like, you may as well be cleaning your yard or, I don't know, be at a dance party, whatever it might be, instead of respecting the audience. If it's an audience full of executives, dress like an executive. If it's an audience full of fitness trainers, then you better look fit, you better look awake. And you could probably dress down a little bit, but you're still honoring that audience. I think that we get that flip-flopped a bit. I see speakers do this where they just they err on the side of individuality, which it's not about you. It's about the people that you're speaking with.
Right. But even with that, you said that air of individuality. I love hearing that. Is, when I coach speakers, people are surprised at some of the things that we coach on, because they're going like, wait, aren't we going to work on the speech and go and do them? Like, wait, there's so much more than just the words that you give on stage. And as you said, just even the way you dress and carry yourself, one is it has this impact on the audience as far as, do they see you as an expert or if they see you as someone who's a credible authority, but then also the way you carry yourself. And I say the way we dress, essentially, we have to see ourselves as superheroes. And I go, hey, superheroes don't show off their strongest abilities until they have their superhero costume on. So whether it be male, female, I go, hey, what makes you feel at your best? And obviously we're going to probably have a casual outfit, a semi-casual, and then a formal outfit, to go, or business casual. But which one makes you feel good? Like, how do you like the way your hair? Do you wear your glasses? What shoes are you going to wear? Because do you feel comfortable when you're on stage? And like, they don't think about these pieces. But when I know I go to an event, I was always taught, dress one level above the people who are there.
Ooh, good.
So if the group is going to be, quote, casual, then I'm going to be business casual. If they're going to be, as you said, dress business style, then I'm going to dress business style or more formal. You have to kind of pick it out. And then the other part is, stop trying to be like everyone else. You're going to love this one. As I shared, I told people, like, our job is not to blend in with the crowd, it's to stand out. Mm-hmm. So when you show up to an event, if everybody is casual and then you've got a suit, they already are, perceiving you as like, oh, this is somebody of authority. This is somebody of expertise. And they'll come up to you and start the conversation like, well, hey, you're dressed up. No one else here is dressed up. Are you in charge here? What do you, there's just a certain way people, treat you. I've gone onto airplanes where sometimes I'm casual, t-shirt and jeans, nobody bothers me. I walk on in a suit after an event. Who are you? What do you do? I mean, it's funny just how, you carry. So I always tell people, like, what is your superhero suit? What allows you to perform at your best and be your best? And for some people, I go, hey, if you happen to wear the same suit, same outfit every event, as long as it's clean, you're good. Because if it allows you to perform at your best and provide the best learning experience possible, that becomes your piece. But for all of us, when we start the speaking game, we're trying to be like everybody else. And, I'm going to be speaker man or speaker woman. And it's just like, is that you? And it shows up in their performance on stage. But then they start to go, it's like, well, hey, I know I've got to get dressed up, but red is a color that's special to me. So I'll happen to put a little bit of red into it. It's like, fine, that's the individuality. But the same piece is to carry yourself as a professional. And as a professional speaker, it's not just that we get paid, it's how we perform on stage and off stage and in our mind also.
Oh gosh, so good. Okay, so much goodness there. And you are, without question, a recognized expert in this area of performance. That's what you bring to these organizations, and you create. Performance has everything to do with exceptional results, right? And
Yeah.
it's why you can be the speaker that you are. It's why you can have the lifestyle you have, and that's why speaking is a major part of your business model and your revenue model, right? And that wouldn't happen if you showed up in those jeans in front of a bunch of people in suits ready to get down and serious about going to the next level of their career. So you said so much goodness there. Stand out, don't blend in, stand out, dress at least one step, right?
Yeah.
One step ahead, because you don't want to be over here and they're over here, and then there's just a disconnect.
Yeah.
So one step, that means do some research on your audience before you get there. How do you do that, Frank? How do you get to know who it is specifically that you're going to be speaking with?
I tell people I ask for the answers for the test. I mean, quite simply, once we sign a contract with a client, we will schedule at least 2 pre-event meetings. And I'm going to ask the questions. What's the demographics? What's the expectation? I've got a good friend, Joe Fingerhut. I've sat in on a couple of his phone call conversations with clients. And he said, hey, for this to be a successful event, he's like, what's the ideal thing you want your participants or audience to say once I'm done speaking? What's the end result you want? And the event organizer tells him. So it's almost like the endpoint for your GPS. So now he can build everything along to make it happen. So for me, I'm asking the questions: who's a speaker after me? Who's a speaker before me? How much time is before or after my speaking? Well, Frank, we're going to have somebody come in 5 minutes later. Then I know I've got to end right on time. Well, we got about 30 minutes. I'm like, okay. It's like, well, if it's going really good, do I have like about 5 or 10 minutes buffer? Oh, yeah, sure. How is the room set up? Oh, it's going to be in the round. It's going to be in the theater. What are your expectations? What would make this a successful speech? What's the one key thing you want them to take home? Who have you had in the past and how did they speak? Tell me about the worst experience you've ever had. They're giving this to me. So when the speech is over and people are like, oh my God, you killed it. You're amazing. I should be amazing because they just gave me the answers to the test. So as long as I'm listening to the client, I should be able to go out there and perform well. So that's the whole piece about having these pre-event meetings. And also during the pre-event meeting, I actually schedule a post-event meeting for the wrap-up. And I get that on their calendar within 7 to 10 days after the event is over, because trying to track people down afterwards, they get back into their life. And so we get that on the calendar right away. And then I'll start to ask, what worked well? What didn't work well? What did you like? Could you refer me to some people in your network that would make sense to bring me in? Or I'll also say, hey, you know what? Would you be willing to give a testimonial for me? So I'm getting all this information there, which allows me to get onto more stages. So the idea is pre-event questions allow me to do great on stage, because every time I step on stage, it's a job interview. So I'm going to perform at my best. But then afterwards, once I get off the stage, the people there like me, but hey, can you set me up for success? Who are some other people within your network that can, bring me in the future?
Brilliant strategy. So number one, you don't walk in blind.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just like, I am so fabulous, I could just show up and say what I say and it's all going to hit. That does take extra work. It takes extra time from you, extra effort, but that also makes you the caliber of speaker that you are. And speaking of caliber of speaker that you are, you would think, I've arrived. I've done this thousands of times. I don't need the feedback. I don't need the feedback. But you have humbled yourself, and you know that to stay relevant, to stay top of mind, and to encourage referrals, that post meeting is really, really important. It might feel like, one more thing, one more meeting, but it is so vitally important. And I love that you said it's almost like a job interview every time. And you've held on to the humility to be open to that.
Yeah, I mean, too many of us get into the speaking piece where we're coming from our professional field. So I know you work with athletes and doctors and people who are very experienced, and that's their world. But they have to really understand the speaking, if you want to call it the entertainment or the education world, of which it's a little bit different. And you have to understand, once again, I'll ask the clients, like, what should I wear? what are keywords I should or shouldn't say. And we have to understand, okay, it's a different a different place. And sometimes people come into this world will be like, they're seeing like the people who are talking about the green M&Ms and I'm going to go do this. And I try to explain to so many new speakers or people who are trying to elevate their businesses, we have to be better off stage than on stage. They get so focused on delivering a great speech on stage. That's expected from the client. But if you get on stage and let's say you're a speaker talking about building connections and relationships, we've got to build connections and relationships. Please talk to me, talk to your friends, make sure everybody knows you. And you say that, they feel good. And then when you step off stage and then you tell people you're too busy to talk to them or take a picture or make yourself accessible to the audience who's there, that's all they're ever going to remember. So for our clients, I always tell people like, I want to be better off stage than on stage. So people are like, oh yeah, Frank's easy to deal with. There's no drama. He has these pre-event, questions for us. He asked us what to wear. Hey, he showed up a little bit early and judged the competition for us. He's in the hallways talking with people. These are the things that get you booked more. And I'm sure you can talk on this one, Antoniette, is I'm sure most of your clients who book your speakers, they'll say, hey, you know what? Frank did a great job on stage, but I bet 9 times out of 10, they're talking to you about all the things that they did off stage.
Yes, that is so true. Right. And if you are a diva and you show up and you just give your thing, you haven't done, it's just that, your talk you always give, you really haven't done your research on the audience. You walk off, take the dark window plated limo out of there. That's just not somebody that is going to give to the audience to the level that the organizer is going to really appreciate. And it's also, you're also harming yourself because often, I think you said it earlier, it's each talk is a job interview.
Yeah.
If you do that, you may have missed out on 5 other people in that audience who wanted to come up, shake your hand and say, hey, I've got this thing coming up. Would you like to get on a Zoom, on a call this week and talk about it? Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're in a relationship business and too many people get into this, don't understand that. And because I've been in the audience before watching speakers and performers, then I used to book them and now I'm a speaker. I've seen it from all 3 angles. So I see it a little bit differently. And I try to express that to people who've never either booked an event or, brought in speakers, especially for the new speakers come in. I try to explain that to them going, hey, here's what else you have to do. Because I've had speakers who've called me. I was like, Frank, I'm like, yes, like you don't know me, but I'm trying to speak at this conference right now. And they said they'd only book me if we do what Frank did. Like, what did you do? And I just let them know. I was like, hey, I hung out in the hallways. I was like, that was the piece. Or I showed up to the breakfast early in the morning and they had like the vendors coming through and they go, hey, Frank, would you be willing to just go MC the vendor piece? Sure. I'm like, just more touch points. Hey, Frank, you're here right now. We've got a charity that we're raising money for. We got a silent auction. We heard in your past that you used to be an auctioneer. Would you help us like raise a little bit of extra money? Sure. And then all of a sudden you'll get a phone call or email a few weeks later from a group. It's like, hey, could we work with you? Because we heard how easy you were to work with and that you weren't just there for 60 minutes to collect a check and leave. You actually made yourself a part of the event. And we love that experience. So could you please, help us out? Like I just booked a deal right now where they didn't have any speaker slots open, but Frank, we want you to be a part of the event so much. Would you be willing to come in and be like they call me their cruise director, but would you be willing to be our cruise director and just help make some announcements when people are going, introduce our speakers, maybe run a couple giveaways and, contests while you're there. And if you're willing to do that, we'll put you in line to be our keynote speaker the following year. And we've got another event coming up this summer where we like to put you. So these little extras that you do open up doors for more opportunities.
So good. Okay. Well, to that end, then, when you do price a talk, are you generally giving them a day rate or are you giving them a talk rate? How do you normally like to do that?
So generally I'll give a day rate and because I'm going to be there no matter what. I mean, I want to show up early and see who's speaking before me because I've had events where they book me for a keynote and I show up and a keynote before me or another speaker almost gives like 80% of my similar talk. And you're like, oh, wait, I've got to adjust to this. So that's why I like to show up early. You might have sponsors or vendors who brought you in. So I like to go ahead and connect. Or there's a point I don't want to feel rushed. So usually it's a day rate. And I explain to them like, hey, the moment I step foot on property to the moment I step off, I was like, I'm yours. I was like, whether it means I'm speaking or just meeting with people, interacting, Q&A, I was like, here's your day rate. If you want me only speaking for a keynote, hey, fine. I was like, I'll still be here if you'd like me to do a keynote and a breakout deep dive Q&A, of which people are like, oh, you're losing money. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's just more opportunity to touch people, which means those are, quote, paid commercials for me. Those are
Mm-hmm.
phone calls and emails I don't have to go and make because, hey, I did a keynote in front of 500 people, then I did a breakout and 75 people showed up. That's 75 people who probably want me. And I can knock them out in about a 45 to 60 minute point versus trying to make all these phone calls and emails. So yeah, so I do a day rate, but when people do call and they ask, for some flexibility, you listen.
Mm-hmm.
And you listen to see what works best for them. There's certain times of the year where I always say we have to speak for value, and value may not mean the paycheck. So in my case, I've got a group right now. My assistant actually booked it, so it's great, where she's from Puerto Rico. And she's got some family and friends who are down there, and they know me. They start talking one day. It's like, oh man, this speaker's great. And it happened to be me. She goes, I work for him. And her sister-in-law's like, hey, we know him. And they go, you think we can get him to come to our conference? So we talked about fee, and I told them what my day rate was, and they came back, go, hey, we can't afford that day rate, but we understand. They did their research. We understand this is a big year for your wife for her birthday, and we know your kids are important to you. Would you be willing to, if we paid for all your flights, your hotel, and did a special birthday dinner for your wife, would you come down to Puerto Rico?
Woo!
And you can sell books. Yeah, that's got value. I'm going. So that's the piece too. As speakers, we have to be willing to find out, is there some value there? Maybe there's a point of there's brand awareness. So I've spoken for Microsoft before. They really didn't pay me anything, but instantly the next day that pictures and video went up, people are going, can we afford you? Because that brand recognition. They didn't understand that they only gave me a cup of coffee to come speak because my friend worked there. There's points where my family's been brought along. There's been points where like, hey, I need a new video. There's a room with 1,000 people and they've got a professional videographer. Yeah, I need new video. A videographer and an editor is going to cost me buku money, and the image of me in front of 1,000 people, done deal. So we have to be willing to take the phone calls and emails and listen. I never send out an email where people are like, well, what's your cost? I'm like, let's get onto a Zoom call, because it's harder to say no to my face. I was like, and let me better learn and understand your event. Because I've coached someone before where they sent their price out. My price is this. And then the group goes, oh, perfect. We'll have you speak 5 times in the day. And she's like, oh my God, I should have done that. So we've got to jump onto these calls to better understand the event. If you're the right fit, sometimes it's not the right fit for you. So I'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm not the right fit for you, but I want your event to be a success. So Antoniette, she's my friend. She's an expert in that. You should contact her. So you'll go and do a great job. I'll explain what my area of expertise is. You do a great job. I'm like, wow, this guy wasn't a money chaser. And I've had groups where they've called me back a year or two later, like, hey, Frank, now we're ready for your expertise. So I'm always willing to listen just to find out. I'm not going to kick people to the curb. I'll just say, hey, you know what? The price may not fit. The time may not fit. Let me recommend somebody for you. Let me still position myself as a resource. And that word spreads that, once again, oh, man, this guy is really easy to work with. He cares about the end result for our people versus just caring about himself.
Brilliant strategies. There were so many. I mean, I hope our listeners are taking notes, because there was or they'll re-listen to this episode, because you gave so much there, Frank. And not only can the organizer feel it, are you really just in it for the money, for that quick paycheck, or do you actually care about my organization and the results we're going to get from this collaboration? The audience also feels it. They can feel if you're there to throw the talk at them and get out of there, or if you're really there, you care about what they're going to glean from not only your talk, but the event at large, that they can feel that. And so if you're more in, they're more in, and those open opportunities really open up for you. So much goodness there. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and ask you, first of all, I love the fact that you set up the post event call before the event ever begins. I think that's just a really brilliant strategy in itself. But when you are asking for those referrals, hey, do you happen to have vendors or colleagues or other departments within your organization that can benefit from my talk and what I bring to the table? How many times does that turn into something? And do you have a strategy behind that other than just basically asking? Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we can do it this way, and we said, Frank, you can talk about mindset and top of mind today. Yeah. Our brain, the main purpose of our brain is, learn this from a good friend. His name is Dr. John Molitor. He's a neuroscientist, and he said the brain is a time management device. It's an energy management device. So the idea is the brain is there to watch how you manage your energy. Okay, we got to have energy for the heart to keep the heart going. So if we create something that's harder or it's going to expend a lot of energy, then our brain kind of pushes us away from it. So making these phone calls, making these emails, that's strenuous. So it's like, okay, we're going to go jump online and probably just go surf the internet because that's a lot easier. It requires less energy. So when we reach out and schedule these meetings and, talk to these people, I'm just thinking like, oh, wow, this is going to make things a little bit easier for me. So even right now on my computer, there's an email that came today. There's a client where I've done 2 great jobs for them. So number one is we got to do a great job because you really can't ask for help if you do a terrible job for them. But once you do a great job, what I'll do is I'll say, hey, are you going to have an event in the future years? They go, yeah. I was like, I'd love to, still be a resource for you. Would you like me to recommend a few speakers that I trust? So now I can recommend some speakers. They're like, wow, it's like, because most speakers are like, hey, book me again. No, I'll recommend some people who are really, I was like, so if, like when you need any type of speaker, let me know. It's like, I've got a great network of people. I was like, I can connect you with, tell me exactly what you're looking for, demographic wise, is like, and I'll give you at least 3 options. So they love that. So now I'm offering something of value to them. So now I can come back and follow up with, hey, can you help me out? So in the case of my most recent email, happy client, and I go, hey, it's like, you know what? I'm looking to touch more lives around the world. And I say, I don't know every organization that's out there. I would love your help. So now I'm kind of playing up to their vanity. I goes like, are there any other conferences or professional associations or events that you've attended where you feel I can bring value to? And today, 5 conferences information came back. So, hey, I would suggest you try these 4 or 5 right there. I mean, so now it's like, oh, I've got 5 pieces here. Now I can send it off to my assistant. It's like, hey, go research these. Let's go find the conferences. Or I'll ask, hey, do you have any personal contacts at that event? Yes. Would you be willing to make a referral email? And in some cases, I can write the email for them because like I don't have the time. Once again, thinking about how their mind works. Like, oh, it's like, I was like, hey, you know what? I've got a sample and proof. Can I send that over to you? Or I'll just send you an email that you can forward off. And I might say, hey, Antoniette, thank you so much for having me come speak at, the group. I'd love if you could share this information with your network. And now you can just forward that email along and it's got, a link to my videos. It's got a link to my speaker kit. And, the idea is if we can put less strain on ourselves, then it's going to work out. And for most of my work, it's about 75 to 80% referrals. Either do great work on stage and people come up to you, or the people who I've worked with or other speakers, they know my area of expertise. When someone goes, hey, we need this, they can point them my way. It's not about these click funnels and how many videos you pop up and go and do. It's like, do great work. Remember, this is a relationship business, and utilize your network first before we try to go get people who don't know us or care about us to love us.
Oh, so good. Okay. Love this. You're
I
good at what you do. You've been doing it a little while, haven't you? This is so good. Okay. So deliver large, like do what you say that you're going to do and do it really well. And that has everything to do with not just you getting on stage, but all the stuff that you do before you even step your foot on the stage and what you're doing while you're there. So deliver large and then serve them in an unexpected way, right? Make their job a little bit easier, whether it's creating those emails for them or referring them to the next speaker, right? First of all, you're creating law of reciprocity on both sides. That speaker is going to love you as well. They're going to do the same for you in most cases. And then compliment and ask. You give them a solid confidence. Your event was amazing. I really appreciated working with you. You were great to work with. By the way, do you know of anybody else who I can serve in the same way? And then going back to the make it easy for them. Don't ask them to do work for you. Yeah. Even when you're asking them for referral, make that even easier for them. So good. That really leads perfectly into the next question, which I'm going to give in just one moment. But what I first wanted to is make sure, I know by this time in the show, there are a lot of people listening who want to know, how do they get a hold of Frank Kitchen? What's the way that you like to be reached out to? And what are some things that they can glean from you?
Yeah. So I love being a resource for people. So where you can find free resources or low-cost resources is you can go to my website, frankkitchen.com. And there'll be a little link on there that says, book Frank. If you even go in there, you can click that link and it'll direct, questions to me. So we can go there. I'm always on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is very valuable. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So just look for Frank Kitchen, spelled just like the room. It's not kitchens. There's only one kitchen in most people's houses, so there's only one of me. And then after that,
The heart of the home,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yep. You're
the
the
heart of the
heart of
home,
the talk.
the room that brings people together. And then the other part is I'm always popping up and posting information on YouTube. Now, so with all those groups, you can always like leave comments. I'm pretty good about replying within 24 to 48 hours. If it's important enough for you to contact me, I'll contact you back. And at worst, you can just email me, and the email is fresh. Like everybody loves things fresh from the kitchen. So fresh@frankkitchen.com. And if you email, once again, I will get back to you as quickly as possible. I will never say I'm busy, but if the calendar is full, I'll just say, hey, you know what? The calendar's a little full right now. I'll send you a link, for a Zoom calendar meeting, and we'll set up some time to go. I'll just say, hey, calendar's full right now. Let's find a time that works best for both of us.
You know what I noticed about you too, even working with you, getting this show together, you don't just have the talk, you actually walk it. You do prioritize communicating and making people feel like they have some importance in your very busy world. And I think that really comes from that mindset excellence that you have developed, not only for your audiences over the years, but for yourself in the way that you handle people and situations.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people are looking at. And as I said, I've listened to a couple of your episodes, and you're always probably definitely stressing this with the people that you represent, is people are watching our actions. And there's too many, as you said, divas in the industry where they can leave a bad taste, not just for themselves, but for the speaking industry in general, based off of how they treat people. And they want to see if you practice what you preach. They want to see, like, the best advice I had was, Frank, can we get the Frank off stage, on stage? So too many people have this on-stage persona and they're completely different off. When we can combine those two, people are like, oh, wait, you talk about mindset. Okay, you're great at mindset. You talk about leadership, you're great at leadership. They want to see if we're actually practicing what we're teaching everybody else. So that's where, for me, everybody's like, wow, you look like you're marketing. You sound like you're marketing. You're just like who you are. I'm like, yeah, it's like, I don't want to have any, fakeness out there. I want to be completely genuine. And this is just who I am. And I've worked a lot of terrible jobs. So being able to share my passion or my experience or knowledge with people, man, this is a legal high. So what you see and hear right now, this is just me. And for any speakers out there, that's the point we all want to get to where we can just be our genuine selves, completely comfortable and confident on stage and off. And that's what draws people in. They can feel that. As my nephew said years ago, he goes, hey, he's like, most people are natural BS detectors. So let's not give them any BS.
Ooh, natural BS protectors. These are so good. These are writer downers, legal high, natural BS protectors. That's so true. Okay. So you've gotten these leads, right, from your previous engagements. What I heard you say, where is exactly what I believe in, but many speakers don't do it, is you said you have an assistant to help you
Yes.
follow up on that. Now you're
And
really in the place of your career where you could probably take your foot off the gas a little bit, but you're not doing that. So yeah, let's speak to that.
So first one is her name is Ramanita, so she's going to watch this at some point. She's my team lead.
Woo
And the nice
woo,
part
go
was,
you.
yeah, so I say team because I think when we say assistant or someone who works for me, we devalue people. So talking about mindset. So I call her my team lead. So it's me, my wife, and Ramanita. And with Ramanita, she works part-time for me. She used to be a former employee, one of my students when I worked at the college. So she's somebody I knew I could trust. I brought her on here in the last year. And because I know she's self-guided, I can jump on, like, hey, here's a lead. Can you go ahead and look this out and send the initial email out and set up an appointment for me to go make the follow-up phone call? I still make all my phone calls. And she does that. But that allows me to focus on what I need to do, which was building the content, making the connections. So she does a lot of the behind the scenes pieces. And the ultimate part is to make her full-time. So right now I can only afford her part-time, but that's the ultimate goal. And for many of us as speakers, we try to be these solopreneurs and do everything. And that's when things start to fall through the cracks. And if you're speaking really well and you're on the road, that means you're not making the phone calls or emails. I mean, we can be completely honest and transparent right now. As we are speaking on here, there is a big hole in my calendar right now from today's middle of February through the end of March. Why? Last year, I was doing some family stuff. I was on a board for a nonprofit and doing a lot of board work, and the phone calls and emails weren't going out. So here it is. I can, whenever my calendar is slow, I can see a year later, that's when you start to go. That's why I brought on an assistant or my team lead to make sure even when I have downtime, I know stuff is still going out. So I'll open up. I was, on the road for the first 2 weeks of January. Email pops up and she's like, okay, I've cleaned up the CRM. I've added these leads here. I've contacted these groups right there. And as I said, ended up getting the Puerto Rico deal because she was reaching out to people. So that's why we need to have this assistant, because as you said, we cannot take the foot off the gas pedal here, because you can't just expect the phone calls and emails to come in. We still have to do a lot of outbound to make sure, and outbound may not be emails or phone calls, but even later today, we'll be popping videos up on LinkedIn and YouTube. That's part of, your piece, there's always something. If people don't know who you are, then you're not going to get booked.
You just perfectly, Frank, you just perfectly illustrated what I preach. And you just perfectly illustrated it, but not only did you illustrate it, you lived it, and you continue to live it. And it's so vital. So many high achieving experts out there. They're an expert in their space, and they really believe that that's enough. I'll just hire an agent, or get onto some bureaus, and then I can just kind of sit back and it's all going to happen. But I try to say this, and not everybody believes me. If you take your foot off that gas now, you are going to feel it 6 months to a year from now. You're just going to. So to have that assistant in the background, that business machine running in the background, and it is a team effort, right? Whether it's a team of 3 or a team of 17, it is a machine that has to run if you are going to have a serious speaking business. Are you serious? Is it a side gig, or is it a serious speaking business? You can't run any company. And you had that family thing there, that thing that came up that you, I think it was an organization where I can't remember exactly what you said, but you had something come up where you had to kind of shut the doors on your activity. Well, if you do that to a storefront too often, people are going to just say, "Oh, it's never open." I go, "It's supposed to be open. It's never open. So I'm just not going to go anymore." Well, no, even though the creator can't be there, there's a whole team running it in his absence. And so same thing for your speaking career. If you're serious about it, if you want a serious business, you put those business processes in place and you treat it like a serious business. Love that you got that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we all have to do. We forget that it's a business. And I get so many speakers that go, "Hey, I'm a speaker." I'm like, "No, you're a business owner." Like, "What do you mean?" And I go, "Hey, it's like you have to see yourself, use a title professional speaker." I was like, because a speaker is just focused on giving a great speech, putting smiles on faces. I was like, a professional speaker understands, okay, I got to have a great speech or great service, coaching or training program, but I also have to figure out how to leverage that into getting onto more stages. And that's the difference. Like, so it's like, you have to be thinking of yourself as a professional speaker. I spoke to a group this weekend where I go, "Hey, it's business owner first, content expert second, and then speaker third." And like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, first off, you're a business owner, so you have to think about the business. Next one is, what's your area of expertise?" So we always got to position yourself as that expert. And then the speaking, that's the delivery of your area of expertise, or that's a service for your business. But many of us will like, "I'm a speaker," and you're writing these speeches, but we're not making the phone calls, doing the emails, and putting the posts like, "Well, I don't like doing that." And it's like, well, then guess what? You won't be doing this long.
Yes. And you know what? Also, I think that a lot of speakers out there, they maybe saw somebody who did this and it worked for them, so they're going to try it too. They leave out really important factors. Maybe that person that they saw who got an agent who's getting these $40,000 speaking engagements every single month, whatever. They were probably an ex-politician, or maybe a very famous celebrity of one sort or another, or a pro athlete, right? So they have that built in. But in today's speaking market, scrappy is the new perfect, right? I think that most organizations are looking for relatable speakers and trainers, not a celebrity. And relatable speakers and trainers are getting those big paychecks as well. But you touched on just kind of having an agent sitting back, or throwing out a couple of feelers and sitting back. You're going to feel it if it's not methodical and consistent. And I think a lot of speakers come in, they just feel like, "Yep, I'm going to get an agent, and I'm going to throw out a couple of feelers, and it's done. It's all going to happen for me."
Yeah, I mean, you represent speakers, and I can talk honestly to you right now. I had a young speaker reach out to me yesterday. I've mentored her, and we were talking. And she goes, "What do you think about agencies and bureaus?" I'm like, "Well, let me be honest with you." I was like, they're gonna contact you when you don't need them. And she's like, "What? What do you mean?" I goes like, "They're looking for a finished product." I was like, "They want to make money off of that. You're bookable." I was like, "They can't." I was like, "They've got to keep their lights on and feed their staff's mouths." I'm like, "They're not necessarily focused strictly on the speaker." I was like, "The speaker that brings them in the most money, they'll be focused on, yes." And I explained, I'm probably listed on about 40 different agency sites, but I was like, over the last 2, 3 years, I've only gotten like 3 bookings because they're going with what the hot product is. So I explained to people, like, with an agency, because like they think it's the end all sales. Like, I was like, they're getting 100+ emails or videos per week. I'm not sure how many you get. So I'm like, they're going to be looking for the best of the best. I was like, but the ultimate part is I was like, if I'm fishing to have one rod in the water, I only have a chance maybe to catch one chance to catch a fish. If I've got a relationship with an agency, it's another rod that goes in the water. So now I've got 2 chances. That's how we have to see it. Most of the successful speakers that I know, they go, "Hey, I want to outbook my agent." So they don't lean back and just wait. And I've been in that situation, like, oh, the agent's going to take care of things. And then all of a sudden, no work was coming in. Why? I wasn't scrappy, like you said. And I told people, like, scrappy leads to longevity. The people who have these, like the athletes and the people who've got politics, I'm not hating on them, but they have if you want to say, easier entrance into the market because, okay, you ran $1 billion company. Yep, you got a pretty good network. They're going to kind of bring you in. For the rest of us, we're going to have to make the emails, make the phone calls, build up some knowledge. But a lot of these, quote, celebrity speakers, they have a short lifetime because people are going for the hot, what's the shiny object right now? And you'll see them kind of filter out after a while. But the scrappy speakers, we're the ones who have the 20, 30, 40-year careers. I'm like, there's a gentleman I know right now in his 70s, and he's going on, like, I think year 45. I'm like, that's who I look up to. I'm like, I want to be like my one friend. Her name's Jess Pettit, and she made a comment. She goes, "What's your business plan?" She goes, "To die on a plane or in a hotel." And we're like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Either I'm dying on a flight to or from my speaking deal, or I died in a hotel, sleeping, getting ready, or waking up from my speaking piece." So, so it was.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
It's great, but it just shows. It's like, like my wife, when she came in, and she didn't know about speaking when she married me. And she just goes, "Wow," I was like, "You can do this your entire life." And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "And this is what I would love to go and do," versus, I don't see it as a short-term piece. So as you said, the people who want to do this, who are listening right now, you got to ask your question. Are you going to do this full-time or part-time? And then how long do you want to go do this? And as we said earlier, it is a legal high. A group asked me this weekend, like, "Why do you do this?" I was like, "I love the thank yous." And like, "What do you mean thank yous?" I was like, when someone goes, "We listen to you and we're able to transform our business or our career or our organization," or in one case, person goes, "I was thinking about committing suicide before I listened to you." That thank you there, knowing that I've impacted somebody's life, that's why we get into this. The check is great. Yes, the travel is great and the experiences, but the ultimate piece is we're in here it's a lifestyle business, the lifestyle we create for ourselves and the lifestyle we help other people live.
Okay. Basically, what you just said in a nutshell that I gleaned is it's math, not magic, right? You get out of it what you put into it. And so if your formula for success is just to get onto a bunch of different sites that they are not going to be, you're in a pool of many other speakers. You might be the most fabulous mindset speaker in the world, but there's other people on there, right, that think that they're fabulous. So you're going to sit around on the bench waiting for the scraps, or you're going to get proactive and make sure it's a numbers game.
It
Right.
is.
If you want those consistent high value speaking engagements every single month, you need to be pitched hundreds of times a month. You cannot do that as a speaker. What you slow down on now, you're going to feel. And that's another thing I would just love to touch on before we go into our,
Sure.
I could talk with you, Frank, for another hour, but I know we got to wrap
Bring
this
me
up.
back. Bring me back. Part 2.
Yes, we will definitely do a part 2. There are a lot of speakers. They may have had high accolades and high achievements in their career. And so now they just feel like, I'm very successful. I'm just going to step in and people are going to want to book me to speak. And so maybe they get an agent or they buy some sort of speaker program or whatever. And 3 months go by, maybe 6 months go by, and they haven't been booked yet. And it's that machine that we were talking about, right? What you let up on now, you're not going to feel. You didn't feel for another year, and you're out there doing the thing all the time. So when you're first starting up that machine,
Yeah.
you got to be in it to be really in it, right? It's not I think even when you buy a franchise, they tell you don't expect to make a profit for 4 years. I think the
Yeah.
odds are a lot better for speakers, but I see a lot of really great voices fizzle out because of that. What do you have to say about that?
Well, that's where we talked about mindset is we have to have that understanding. We have to have the understanding and be honest with ourselves that it takes time. I mean, obviously with my last name Kitchen, people have probably picked up. I always make some culinary terms. It's just too obvious not to do. But I said, we're in this microwave society right now where we think, hey, we can just pop it in and it's going to pop out, within 60 seconds. No, it's like there's longevity. I've told people it's taken me 19 years to get here onto your podcast.
Mm.
I'm not this overnight success. Like the first 8 years were a lot of failure because I was successful for August and then I was broke and no speaking for the other 11 months out of the year because I didn't understand that there's other opportunities. Because I would tell myself, there's no speaking in the summer. No, there is, but I had to go do the research to find out. I needed to go talk to other speakers. So I needed to have speaker friends. I had a lot of 9-to-5 friends. And a lot of my 9-to-5 friends were like, hey, go get a real job. I need to go be around other business owners and entrepreneurs to build it up. But people don't understand. This is one of the most difficult careers in the world. It is a grind. Like my mother-in-law was like, hey, are you working today? I'm like, my phone's on me. Yeah. I'm like, it's not like I don't spend time with my family and friends, but there's points where if the phone rings, I'm going to get back. And people are like, well, wait, you get back within 24 hours? I was like, yeah, usually about 2 or 3 hours or less. And they're like, why? I was like, I reach out to the client and they go, yeah, they usually have some VA contact me. Some groups don't contact me for 2 weeks. I'm like, do they want to work? I mean, it's like, it's something that someone's going to wait that long to get back because we have to create scarcity as far as what we do. We talked about a numbers game. And if we try to speak and sound like everybody else, then that's not doing your homework, as you said. When I worked for an agency years ago, we had 18 speakers in a room for a retreat to go, who speaks on leadership? And like 14 hands went up. So guess what? If someone calls in to ask for leadership on that particular Friday in August, if I'm booked that day, the agency has 13 other offerings they can offer. And I started recognizing, like, oh, wait a second. So whether you're on an agency deal, it's like you want to find like an agency where there's very few speakers like you. Or when you position or package yourself, it's got to be something broader than just leadership. For me, as you said, I go with the piece of how mindset impacts leadership and results and performance. And I work with people who want to produce amazing results in their career, their business, their organization. So I'm getting more specific with it. So be like, oh, no one else talks about that. That's how you build up the people wanting you. But if I look just like everything else out there, that's a business speaker, that's a leadership speaker, that's a diversity speaker, you're not going to get booked. You also have to understand in this business is it's nothing personal. So for me, I've had groups that go, hey, Frank, you know what? We've had 4 male speakers in a row. We need to have a female speaker. They didn't tell me that my work sucks or anything. He goes, hey, for the audience, or we have a certain theme and our theme is space. So they found a speaker who's gone into space before. But as long as you say, hey, you know what? Thank you so much. And here's another one they can write down. I do 2 things. When they tell me, hey, hit the curb, I go, number one is like, when do you start looking for your speakers? And like, oh, we look for them next August. They're going to get an email or phone call from me next August. But then I also been saying lately too, is like, hey, with these crazy times right now, and especially if they're out in the Southwest, I live in Phoenix. So if they're in Phoenix, Vegas, or LA, or I had a group in Denver I wrote to yesterday, I go, hey, if there's ever an emergency, a speaker gets sick or there's something wrong with the weather issue, I would love to be your backup. And that will open up doors too. So the piece is, everything I share there is like, it is always work. It is, work. I share on stage. I say, anything is possible, but nothing is easy. If you're getting this career thing is going to be easy, you're not going to do good. You have to be willing to work, but you have to have the mindset to understand that we work with people. And as I share with my wife a lot, I go, you can do A plus B and it still will not equal C. Why? Because between B and C are people. People can change from day to day. Budgets can change. And you have to understand that's the piece. And as I said, even right now, there's a hole in my calendar. I'm like, I can complain about it. Or guess what? Let me jump on the phone, start making some phone calls and emails, and not just to people who I don't know. I reach out to past clients and go, hey, is there an opportunity to come back and work with you? Do you know of anybody who's there? And then you said, Frank, could you share one tip? Every 6 to 12 months, I go through my LinkedIn, my phone, my email, and I try to find at least 100 people who, if they saw me walk down the street, they'd be like, hey, Frank, what's going on? And I send them an email. And if anybody wants to, you can email me, fresh@frankkitchen.com. I'll send you the sample of what I do. I go, hey, here's my big dream for this year. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what I speak on. when, not if, when you hear of somebody in need of these, particular services for their professional training event, retreat, conference, please point them my way. So I'm also making my friends and my network my agents.
There's your pact to impact tip from Frank Kitchen right there. Frank, you've given us so much gems, but that is a very tactical practice that any of us, if we're serious about our business, right, any of us can put into practice. And I think at the end of the day, when you talk about mindset, which we are definitely going to do in part 2, because I really want to dig into your mindset strategies. But that is a mindset strategy right there. Is it worth it? Yeah. The speaking business is hard. It's not as easy as people think, right? But is it worth it? A speaker life is pretty darn fabulous, right? Yeah. Done right. So what are you willing to put in to get out? And that strategy you just gave is doable, right?
Yeah. We just always have to be looking for opportunities. And as I share with people, I was like, we always have to just be hungry. I'm like, there's one thing from saying, hey, I'm hungry. But there's another one when you say, hey, I'm hungry. And when I say hungry, I'm like, hungry means, guess what? You'll do whatever it takes to feed that hunger. And that's the mode you have to be in with the speaking life is, whether you watch TV or you're going to an airport or you're in a hotel, you're in tune or willing to listen or see opportunities. So if I go to a convention center and I'm speaking for one event, but I see there's 2 other events there, I'm going over to find out what those other events are. I'm writing down notes and asking my team to research that group. Or I'm going to go meet that person there. It's like, hey, what's your organization about? What's the speaker that you brought in? It's a point of you have to just be ready to, quote, cook all the time. And if you're sitting back waiting to, and I told people, like, if you're waiting to be a consumer, then nothing's going to happen. You have to be a producer. I'm like, producers create more opportunities for themselves. And we've got producers and consumers. Consumers wait around for somebody else. As a speaker, you have to be the producer where you're willing to take the lead and put the work in and not wait. The only person who's going to make you look good in this field or this career is you. Don't wait for anybody else to put the website up. Don't wait for other people to talk about you. Don't wait for them to email you back. You've got to go out and put in the work. And if you put in the work, then guess what? You should start seeing results.
Perfect way to close. Yep. Conscious action, right? Be the producer versus that passivity, I guess.
Yeah.
To be that consumer. Bring it to me. Oh, so good. Thank you, Frank. This has been a truly jam-packed interview. I think you could listen to this interview 3 times and catch more. And this is 19 years in the making, right? You started, and every level of your evolution, you learned more, you implemented. You learned more and you implemented. Thank you for the gifts that you've given to the Speak Packed audience today.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you so much for bringing it out. I mean, as I share with everybody right now, is like, this is a legal high. And the thing we have to think about as speakers is there are 8 billion people on this planet. You're never going to be able to talk to all those people. But with the information I'm sharing right now, I don't know how many people are listening today and will listen in the future. If they go out and speak and share some of the information that I gave today, then they're going to have an impact. And guess what? That means I'm playing a role in impacting more lives around the world. And that's what we're in. Professional speaking is an impact business. So what are we doing to impact people in a positive way?
Amen. Love it. All right. Thank you so much, Frank. Frank Kitchen. Look him up. Follow him. There's so much more that he brings to the table that we didn't even touch on today. So definitely connect with Frank. And for the Speak Packed audience, you have been showered with gifts from Frank today. And so to give him a gift back, to give me a gift back, go ahead and post this forward. Share it. If you gleaned wisdom today, there's a good chance that people within your sphere will also glean wisdom. Give us the comments, the likes, the shares, all those things, because when you do that, you're actually making an impact right along with us. So thank you all, and ciao, ciao for now.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Packed podcast. To become a recommended speaker of Antoniette's WPC speaker agency, or you are a host or planner looking for a dynamic expert in optimized performance, Antoniette would like to personally meet with you. Secure a time with her at speakerbooker.com. Again, that is speakerbooker.com. It all begins with a vision, a voice, and a pact to impact. Join the Speak Pact movement by joining our new private Facebook group at the link in our show notes. Find us on nearly every social media platform at One Antoniette. That's number 1, ANTONIETTE, or simply hashtag SpeakPact.